Hi, welcome back. Today we are doing the Halfway to Halloween VR, which is exactly the kind of behavior I support. It's April. I know that. I know it's not October. But yet the internet has handed me a permission slip to drag my spooky decks out of containment, so obviously I'm going to honor that sacred responsibility. This is all about decks that feel haunted, shadowy, intuitive, protective, comforting, eerie, or just slightly too emotionally armed to be left unsupervised. I'll link the original video below so you can go watch that one too. She has some great decks. I also want to say she has some great interviews over on her channel. You would really enjoy those. If you're the kind of person who thinks Halloween is not a date but a lifestyle choice, welcome. Grab a snack, grab a drink, because I didn't stick with 13 decks. I mean, y'all should know better. Let's get into the decks before I start reorganizing the whole spooky shelf, and I will be putting in a picture of that later. Prompt 1. What deck instantly gives you Halloween vibes no matter the season? So for this one, I picked the Skeleton Tarot. Now, I got this in a subscription box many moons ago. This was the original artist's information. I don't know if they're still around. But I did find this deck over on, I'm going to put the link below. I think it was something called Boston Tea something. Oh, I'm getting it wrong. I'll put the link below. Anyways, this is a very simple little indie deck. Now, I say simple because you look at this art and it looks quite, simple. Let me bring you in a little bit. But if you're an artist, I bet you know how hard this is to do. These are the backs. This was such a surprise when I got it. It was the very first non-serious deck that I bought, if that makes sense. This one, when I got it, I just went, ooh, this is fun. And I just fell in love. And at the time, Joanne was still open, and I found this great black and white glow-in-the-dark fabric that matched the black and white of the deck. And then I cut out a piece of vinyl and heat pressed it on here, and I have loved it ever since. I pull this out a couple times a year. I don't always just wait for Halloween because it's such a beautiful, fun deck. The pictures are great. There's a little bit of blue, a little bit of red in here in some places, but overall, it's pretty black and white. It's playful, and it feels like October in card form. It is, I mean, come on, glow-in-the-dark bag. How old am I? I don't care. I love glow-in-the-dark, and I'm owning that. The cards are Rider-Waite Smith based. It's very easy to tell what you're looking at. The backs are not reversible. I don't care. I just dig this deck. Prompt number 2. Which deck feels eerie, but still gentle, dreamy, or spring-like? I coveted this one for quite a while. This is the Boo Tarot. Now, I know many have complaints about the cardstock, and I get it. It's terrible. It's awful. It's gross. But I don't care. The majors have a little bit of blingy. I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up. It has some glitter on it, which is fabulous. It has hollow on the backs. This does warp. It is very thin, which can drive some folks really nuts, and they're just not able to use it. It just doesn't bother me. I wanted it for a long time, and I managed to find it in a Facebook group for sale. At the time, I was like, oh, I'd rather find it somewhere here in the US so I don't have to pay shipping from France. Now, old me would need smelling salts if she saw some of today's shipping tariffs and taxes. Yeah, she'd fold herself like onto a Victorian fainting couch or something and just leave her body. This deck is worth it, though. It's an indie. It's still available. She also has an Oracle, and I want to get that. And maybe I'll treat myself to that one. What am I talking about? I treat myself all the time. Maybe I'll get that one this year before Halloween, because I have a lot of Halloween decks. I will be putting in a picture of my shelf soon, I promise. Somewhere in this video. I just haven't decided where yet. So this is all Ghost. It's writer Waite Smith. Because it is French, you have both the French title and the English title. The book is half in English and half in French. And overall, this is just so freaking delightful. I mean, look at this tower. You can't even get mad at it being the tower and all that glitter. Scrumptious. Prompt number 3. What deck feels closest to the unseen, spirit, or the in-between? So for this one, and this one might be obvious to some of you who've been around for a couple months with me, I picked the Memento Mori by Claire Goodchild. Now, I do have an additional bunch of cards in here, so I'm going to put those aside. This is my Ancestor / Speak to the Dead deck, and I have very few decks in my collection that only field one job, because I think my decks can do anything, really. But this one has remained just for the dead. That's it. That's its job. And it's really good at its job. Let me flip through a few cards. This is an independent. I use it mainly for ancestor work. And I know you can use any deck for anything. I mean, I get that. You can also eat soup with a fork, but it's, I mean, you got to be really committed to it because you're only going to get a dribble at a time. That doesn't mean it's the best tool. And this deck is the tool that I use for ancestor work. It does feel like the veil to me. It's silence and memory. It's the room sort of getting colder for no reason. It is when I feel something in the room, but I don't know what's there, and I need to ask the question. It's when I'm standing at my ancestor altar. I have recently received a couple of pieces of my husband's family's jewelry that I've added to our ancestor altar, and that has brought some different energy to the house. And these cards have been helpful to me in sorting that out and how to honor them. This is not a deck that I use casually. Some decks, you know, I just pick up and go, and I read them in the car, or I read them wherever I happen to be. This particular deck has a little more ritual to it for me when I'm doing ancestor work, although there have been occasions where I've just needed to grab it because someone's trying to talk and I'm not hearing. So this is definitely one that helps me hear through the veil. So this is currently sold out, but she has found a new printer in North America. She's Canadian. And on her website, you can hit the button to get notified when it's back in stock. And there have been noises that she is working on that. So I hold out hope. I hold out hope because I know there are a lot who would like to have this deck in their collection. Prompt number 4. Which deck do you trust the most without question? This is no contest. It's the This Might Hurt Tarot, period. I've been working with it for years. It is it's my mean friend. Sometimes it's nice, but a lot of times it's got some harsh words for me. It's honest. It likes to hit me in the face with a cast iron skillet. It did start as an indie deck, and then it went mass market, so it's available wherever you buy those. It's decided that apparently I need accountability in multiple forms since I've owned several different iterations of this deck family. And I did a video yesterday or the day before on the new Oracle deck that came out from this creator. The deck is clear. It's really modern and readable. I will also say that it has taken a chunk out of my butt on occasion, which is rude, but okay. It is one of those decks that'll go, okay, you know what you did. Now what are we going to do about it? So horrifying, but necessary, and definitely a 5-star deck for me. So that was This Might Hurt. Prompt number 5. What deck do you reach for when things get real, raw, and honest? I will be honest in saying that most of the time, if I need to do shadow work, I pick up something happy because that is a pain point for me, being happy. Because I am goal driven and I have an inability to celebrate accomplishments, I find that happy digs into things that I'm not comfortable with. And then those are things that I bring to therapy. And I will mention shadow work and therapy. They go together. Don't be doing a bunch of deep shadow work and not taking care of your mental health. That can be dangerous and that's not good for us. But when I have things that are dark, there's only one dark deck I turn to for that kind of shadow work. And that is Earthbound Oracle. I have the Mass Market. This is by Syrian Shadow. The Mass Market has all the information on the cards. These are the backs. It had beautiful gilding on it, but I've used this deck a lot, so it's pretty dinged. Like a lot of gilding on my decks. I do not pull off huge readings with this deck. Absolutely freaking not. I will pull one card. I'm good with one. Maybe two, and 3 if I'm feeling brave or foolish, which are often the same outfit on different days. This deck is dark, but I mean, it's really not how I prefer to do shadow work. This one feels like you've sort of like descended into the basement and your flashlight just went out. But it gets past my defenses. I mean, it digs under all the crap that I've piled on top of it into my nest of things I don't want to look at, which is deeply inconsiderate. It doesn't ask what I'm willing to admit to. It goes straight for the thing I'm not willing to say, or, I mean, it's useful. I do journaling work with this one, which I find it in no way softens the blow. If anything, it can lead to a crying jag. But it has the way of finding the actual bruise and not just the decorations that I put on top of it. I love it. I do not trust it to behave. Because those are different things. So this is Earthbound Oracle by Syrian Shadow. Prompt number 6. Which deck has an energy that makes you pause or feel something deeper? This is the Lost Oracle by Fiona Horne. I simply adore this deck. In fact, I was just going to sit here and look through the cards. Let me put it down so you can see the cards. This deck gives it here at the backs. This is Mass Market, available anywhere you buy your decks. This is a deck that gives me the willies in the best possible way. Here again, the palette is very simple. The artwork is very simple. You have a number, a keyword, and a sentence, which I'm great with. But there are stories in the book that are simply incredible. I will pull a card, read the story, move on with my day, and then 6 hours later, my brain is still chewing on it like my new dog on a stolen book, because Bandit is still into books. That is not something we've broken him of, so we have been talking about moving bookshelves and other things to try to help him figure things out. There is one thing I will say about production on this deck. So this particular sprayed edge, for whatever reason, has, what would you call it, transferred to the cards. It's not that distracting for me because I actually, for the longest time, didn't realize what it was. I just thought it was part of the artwork. So, you know, it doesn't upset me. But if that's something that's going to upset you, you can wipe it off and not ruin the deck. I have also dreamed about some of the stories in this deck, which is a little odd for me. I normally don't bring that into my dreams with me. But there's just something so real and honest and traditional witch about this. And I really like it. It is super, I don't want to just say honest. I need another word, guys. Scream something at me on the screen and maybe I'll get it telepathically. No, I don't have powers that work that way. Sorry. I was just watching Shanna D's video about Erin Lento, the Witch of Saturn, had put up a mass market witchy decks tag, and she was talking about this card. And I also, this is a card, Blessed Resilience. You can weather the storm. The story that goes with this card is so powerful. I've never forgotten it. And it has added meaning to my life. And I would love to have a print of this and hang it in my home as a reminder to me on the bad days that everything's going to be fine. So this was the Lost Oracle. Oh, let me also add, this is one I pull all year long. This is not just a Halloween deck. And it was on my top 10 of 2025 list. Prompt number 7. If you had to choose right now, what deck will you definitely use this Halloween season? Selena said there were no rules, so I picked more than one because obviously I have a whole Halloween shelf situation happening and it's not small. It is stacked, it's crowded, and it may need a permit. So I'm going to insert a picture of my shelf here, and this is just Halloween decks. This isn't even all of my dark decks. These are just ones I consider more Halloween season-y themed. Let's get into what I picked specifically. So these two I consider sister decks. These are both by Tarot Collectibles. Okay, listen. So we've had to change our whole schedule for Bandit, the new dog that we adopted. He is in the living room right now, squeaking the squeaker out of a squeaky toy. And it's very distracting. I love to film at night, but he wants to be with me at night. So he chews books. And I have a lot of books and other things in here that I don't want chewed. So I have been choosing to try to film during the day. This is a long explanation to say that I just haven't found a good way to film without his noise in the background. So we're just, if you can pick it up on the microphone, that is my new adopted dog playing with a squeaker. And it's super distracting, guys. Wow. It's a good thing that I have bullet points for these videos, because otherwise I wouldn't be getting through this one. I'm just saying. So these are by Halloween Collectibles. This is the All Hallows Eve Tarot, and this is the Halloween Waite. I'll pull a couple of cards from both, and I do have the shiny, sparkly stars edition in both because bling, love it. So these are the backs on the Halloween Waite. This is Rider-Waite art that has been done in a Halloween style. And I just adore this deck. I have had so much fun with it. It is such a blessing to be able to get these decks. Right now, I know last time I checked a couple months ago, he was out of stock on a lot of his stuff, but they were doing a reorder. So I'm not sure. They tend to restock several times a year. So I would just hit them up and see when they're going to do their next restock if this one isn't in stock already. And they do make non-starred versions of these as well. I just happen to be, give me all the shiny. So this one I got after Halloween last year when they had it available. And so I haven't used this one yet. Although I have, oh wait, it looks like I have used it. I must have used it in a non-Halloween season, which sounds like something I would do. So this one has some different images in it. The backs. It is very witchy feeling to me, if that makes sense. It's not just Halloween, but it's witchy Halloween. And I adore it. And I can't wait to use it again this year. I may have to designate a month in the summer, like early Halloween, because I pulled these decks out for this video. I started looking last night and I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to play with all of them right now. So those are the two indie decks, and those are from Tarot Collectibles. They are in Ireland, so there are tariffs that we have to be worried about now, which can make their decks a little more expensive, but they are so freaking worth it. And their decks do come with a certificate, extra cards, freebies. They do a wonderful job. My other one that I picked is Beautiful Creatures. I know not everyone loves this particular deck. Not everyone loves this style with the big eyes. I'm fine with the big eyes. Don't bother me at all. Some people don't like, some have not enjoyed the gilding. They find it sharp. Honestly, and I do have neurological disease in my hands. I'm okay with this gilding, but that doesn't mean that it's good for everybody. So I have known some who have taken the edges off and redone the edges in their own purple pens or whatever to keep the vibe of the deck. It also, these are bigger, pardon me, that was a huge slam. These are large tarot cards, and for me, these are difficult. When there are 78 cards of this size, this is a regular tarot card, I find it difficult. I do try to here are the backs. And in case I didn't say, this is mass market. I do overhand this one. I might riffle it in small groups. I have to overhand it in small groups. Sort of like I do with these blue bones. It's just a lot of cards. And this cardstock is not nearly as nice as Rose Bay's on Make Playing Cards. But I love this deck. And this one is one I really only pull out at Halloween. I'll pull out my vampire one with this artwork. I will pull out the other Halloween one for other times of the year. But this one is just coded in my head just for Halloween. Now, I'll do all kinds of readings with it, but it sticks to Halloween time. And I'm okay with that. It's definitely gotten some use because you can see, once again, I have chipped the gilding all over it. Oh, me and gilding. I guess if somebody wants to test some industrial proof gilding, send it to me because I'll definitely give it a good run through. So those were the decks that I'll definitely use this Halloween season. Prompt number 8. Which deck feels like it mirrors your current energy or life phase? No one should be surprised by this. It's the Somnia Oracle. This is where I'm at. This feels like uncovering pieces of myself, or alternatively, this is an independent deck. Here are the backs. It is gilded. Mine's just trashed. This feels like covering them back up as well, because some things are vulnerable and they don't need to be out here under the fluorescent lighting getting opinions from strangers. And some of you have opinions, and sometimes you share them in ways that are not kind. This deck is full of color, elements. It's got sort of this like beauty and danger, but it's a softness with teeth. I feel like it's protective and reflective at the same time, which apparently is exactly my own problem. So there you go. You know, I sometimes see myself in this card quite a bit, and I do pull this one, the Pioneer, mainly because with advocating for myself with my wheelchair and my disability, I find myself having to do a lot of education in a small town that doesn't have wheelchair users that are out there going to their stores. So I almost feel like I need to print out business cards with the rules or with suggestions for how to make things cost effectively wheelchair accessible so that I can actually get in stores here. Another reason I do a lot of online shopping. I adore this damn thing. Oh, pardon me, I cussed. I have never, ever, ever bought a backup copy of a deck. Not once. But this one has, it's just showing no signs of slowing down. And I really feel like I want to buy a backup of it. I am so in love with this particular oracle. I love that it's borderless. I love the colors. I love the gold titles. I enjoy the guidebook. I mean, the journal. And all that blue and the sea and the sky and the clouds and the light. I don't know. I get very into this deck. It's just delicious to me. And it's like standing in front of a mirror and realizing that mirror's talking back at me with commentary. It's a part of me that when I look at it, it's trying to get honest, but I mean, at the same time, I still need a security blanket. So yes, the Somnia Oracle is my current life phase. Emotionally inconvenient, and naturally it lives here now. Prompt number 9. Most transformational deck. What deck has changed your perspective, practice, or growth the most? I have 2 here. The first one I talked about a video or so ago. Listen, I talk about this deck every time I can because it is just simply a delight to me. It is the Compus Mentis. It is a black and white photography deck. I discovered it online on Etsy, and I didn't really own any photography decks yet. I got Somnias for both the Somnia decks for Christmas this past year, and this deck just, I love photography. It may be part of the reason I love photography decks. I find this is independent. Like I said, I did buy it on Etsy. There are the backs. And as of recording this video, which is Saturday, the 25th of April, there's still a few days left on her Kickstarter for another black and white deck with the same artist. Oh, crap. I can't remember the other decks she did, so I'm going to shut up because I don't want to get it wrong. Anyway, this deck and the stories that are in the guidebook, again, story and narrative is important to me, taking in more information about how to read cards in different ways. I have spoken many times about how the Ten of Cups is my ultimate dream card. And here is a family at the beach with their dogs, rainbows, nature, beauty. This is everything that I want in my life. While we do have beach wheelchairs now, it is still extremely difficult to get me to beaches and to get me there safely. And it means that I always have to have someone with me. So, you know, I mean, they're just, photography allows me to go places I'm not able to go anymore. That may be part of the reason that I'm so attracted to photography decks at the moment. But the fact that it's black and white allows me to paint it with my colors. And sometimes those colors are dark and sometimes those colors are bright. And this deck just allows me to let it unfold in a different way. And it massively changed how I read tarot. So this is indie. I did pick a mass market because that only seems fair. Ghosts and Spirits Tarot by Lisa Hunt. This is an old US game system deck, still available. Let's see, this is from 2011. I thought it was in order there for a second, but it's not. Here are the backs. This one is not just about the art. It is about what is in this guidebook. I know there are those of you who say you're not into guidebooks and you don't read them. I look at this particular deck as a novel. It is a novel in art that I look through, and occasionally I pick out parts of the story and allow it to align with me. These cards, okay, so the Fool's on top. I'll just briefly read a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. The Fool, Leshy. Leshy are wood spirits inhabiting the dark forest of the Baltics. These shapeshifters can assume many guises and range in temperament from malevolent to mischievous. They are elusive and difficult to detect, but can lead the unwary traveler astray with their ability to mimic sounds. And it goes on. It does also give the divinatory meaning of the Fool card, but you get a story like this for every freaking card in here, including all of the minors. So if you're going to pull, 3 cards, let's just see what we have. You can pull these and you can read these straight, right? Devil, Knight of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles. I've been pulling a lot of Pentacles this week, I must say. There are stories, obviously, that go with each one of these. You may pick out those stories and see how these things speak together. You may read these straight as, just with keywords. A Nine of Pentacles for me is, I happen to love that card. It always makes me think of luxury and shopping. Not everybody sees the Nine of Pentacles that way. That's just how I choose to see it. And the Devil for me is the way that I've locked myself up in my own temptations and fear. So you can read this any way you want to. The art is fantastic. It's Lisa Hunt. Hello. But you can also string the stories that are in this guidebook together and get a little added layer. And this was the first deck that I bought that did that for me. And it made me realize I am very visual and I love art. I'm also very much into narrative, and things that tell me stories help me learn and retain information better. So I, take that for what you will. So that was most transformational decks. Prompt number 10. Which deck feels safe, grounding, or like a spiritual exhale? This was a no-brainer for me. It's the Earthbound Oracle. You guys I've shown this to you many times because it is a staple in my practice. I do all kinds of things with this little oracle. There's no guidebook. There's simply the art and the keywords. It is simple. There again, I often find this deck speaks, because there's nothing else to guide you, there's nothing else to get in the way. There's no questioning when I pull from this deck. There's no, gosh, what does release mean? I mean, release is release. Self is self. Permanence, that is exactly what it means. These are very, very straightforward. So if I were to pull vision, luck, and message, there is going to be something lucky coming in the mail to me that's going to help me with some things that I've been envisioning for our life here as I'm putting together the garden plans. I'm doing that with some finality this weekend. And we've been talking about, we'll need to put up a fence around the garden. And do I want a pretty little arbor or trellis inside of there? How big do we want to make it? But it's all going to cost money, right? So, like I said, super easy. There are no 12 layers of symbolism that I have to decode when I'm tired. If I just want a straightforward, clear, bing, bang, boom message, that one is like coffee when I'm on life support. It just automatically, directly, with no interpretive fog machine, gives me the information. I use that one as a clarifier. I use it to do full readings. And sometimes you just don't want to be like spiritually body slammed by a deck. Like Tarot Volatile feels that way to me. This one's small and combustible, and it always reminds me of my granny because that's how she was. And honestly, that is a complete spiritual system. Prompt number 11. What deck feels protective, shielding, or energetically strong? I picked 2 because I wanted to do 2 different types of protection and show it, show it from 2 different sides. So This first one is the Solitary Witch Oracle by Lucy Cavendish. I have not modded these cards. I'm pretty, I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to shuffle. I won't lie. Here, it's mass market. Here are the backs. It is still available. I will do a waterfall with these. That's just easier on my hands because they are so large. I haven't edged it. I've thought about it, but it hasn't been on my immediate list. So this one might seem like an odd pick as a protective deck. I find light very protective. And maybe it's because it is so opposite to how I move through the world. I'm not really, I mean, I won't say that I'm not love and light, because I do believe that I have had to purposefully learn how to be kinder and more loving to people in my life, because I can be a very hard person and a very stubborn person. And I'm always looking for the worst case scenario. So something like this is protective for me. It has a protective brightness. I mean, not to mention, can we just point out the opposite, that every time you flip over these cards, there's this great pentacle on the back. The art is sweet. The messages are lovely. And the backs, yeah, that big pentacle makes the whole thing feel very shielded. It's not fluffy. Some might consider this fluffy. I don't particularly see this one as fluffy. And like I said, it's probably because my shadow work involves so much trying to hone in on my actual real emotions and not the ones that I'm trying to hide because I feel vulnerable. So this one, and also, can I just say, I know y'all are going to fuss. Some of you are going to fuss. This guidebook is beautiful. It has, again, great stories, and that seems to be very important to me. Listen, I can read this without the guidebook. I can read any of these decks without the guidebook. But when I have something fantastic available to me, I'm not going to ignore it. I do pull this one on its own. I've never used it as a clarifier because there's just more here for me than I want in a clarifier. I want a clarifier to be sharp and quick. I don't want to get in the weeds. The whole point of the clarifier is for me to figure out what it is that I'm refusing to see or just flat missing and not hearing. So this one wouldn't work that way for me. I also, you know, this one can be a little Wicca, and I don't lean in there very much. But, I mean, look, the crone in winter. I just adore this card. You've got the fox with his cleverness, the owl with their wisdom, the snow, the moon in the sky. It's fantastic. So anyway, this was deck 1 for that prompt. So the other deck I want to show you is much more obvious as a protective deck. It's this one, Mildred Payne's Oracle of Black Enchantment. This is from Deviant Moon. It is a independent deck. It is landscape. I think it's the only landscape I own. I sometimes forget that I have this deck, that it is landscape. And I'm like, oh, I don't have any landscape decks. And I'm like, oh, wait, yes, I do. This one reminds me of traditional witchcraft, protection from a whole different place. It reminds me of old stories and old craft. Women who were not evil. They were just women who understood things that made other people uncomfortable. It feels protective because it reminds me to remember my instincts, and that not everything dark is harmful and not everything bright is safe. Recently, I saw something that I get caught up in this art. That's why I paused there for a minute. I just dig this art so much. I saw something recently that when I was writing notes for this episode, I wanted to make sure to mention. This struck me. I want to say I saw it on Instagram, and I apologize. I don't know whose channel it was. We only see the stars shining because it's dark outside. And when I was thinking about that quote, and I've thought about it over the last couple days, I'm like, yeah, you know, the stars don't have an off switch. They don't go off during our day. So that's what this deck feels like to me. It is, the Solitary Witch protects me like, sort of like candlelight in a clean room. And that warm glow that you feel surrounded by. And Mildred Payne's Oracle Black Enchantment is standing next to me watching from the woods and on my side. And both count. This is such a scrumptious deck. So yummy. Love this one. Prompt number 12. Show a deck you do not talk about enough but should. So this is an underrated or hidden gem deck. The Horror Oracle. I know it seems like an odd choice, right? So I saw this one last year on Fairlight Tarot's channel. She showed it and I knew immediately I had to have it. This is a mass market deck, available anywhere you buy those. And it has this little drawer. And I am not typically into decks that have like weird ways of opening or closing them, but this one just delights me. So here are the backs of this one. It's long. Does have a great guidebook, I'll just say. I'm always going to be into the guidebooks. I am a horror movie and horror book fan. Not as much into the books as I am into the movies. I'm a real horror movie buff. I love them. I'm not super into like the slashy, silly ones, but I do love horror movies. So I think the art in this deck is just fun. It is stylized, which is something that I enjoy. I recognize the movies. Obviously, I mean, this is Frankenstein. This is Scream. It's called The Call, which is obviously the whole thing in that one. Here's Freddy. Children of the Corn. Hellraiser. I mean, I could go on for days. Lon Chaney in any of his roles. Oh my gosh, I just watched this one. Okay, brain fart. Anyway. The Babadook. I'll stop telling you the movie names. So, once again, I'm just going through the deck and having fun. Oh my gosh, I love all the iterations of this story. I find, but some of the ways I use this deck. So, why is this a hidden gem? For a horror movie buff, this is just a delicious re-experience of the movies, and the art is so interesting, and what they picked out from each of the movies to include in the card, fabulous. The guidebook obviously tells you what these are. It tells you about the movie. It gives you a quote, gives you an upright and reversed meaning. You do have full color in here. I will, with this deck, I will pick, oh, I was just watching Alien the other night. I will, not just during Halloween season, but mostly during Halloween season. I do horror movies the whole time. And I will shuffle this deck and pick a card. And often I'll just watch the movie. And that's like a way of picking what horror movie to watch that day. I really enjoy the take they have on these movies and the quotes that they picked and the movies that are in here. I mean, wow, it's so wonderful. Okay, we're not going to go through all the cards. This has already gotten to be a long video. Okay, so this was underrated or hidden gem deck. This is the Horror Oracle. My gosh, that's a mouthful for me. Jeez. with this cute little drawer. Love this deck. Prompt 13. What deck is quietly calling your name lately, even if you do not know why? So this is the last prompt. And I picked the Tarot V. This one calls to me a lot, actually. I just, you know, I did a deck study with it that I really enjoyed. That got me started. And then I had edged it. I always find that process of looking at every single card and doing the edging, I don't know if are we calling it bonding? Connects me to the deck. I edged this with a Tombow marker, which was a mistake. Don't do that. It still comes off on my hands. I now use alcohol markers, and that's a much better option. The art on here is sublime. The cardstock, it's low scarabeo, so it's great. It's mass market, available anywhere. There's the box. The art is simply powerful and breathtaking all at the same time. It's actual art. It is... The guidebook is arranged in ways that explain different facets of vampire. And I've said before in another video, and this one is glossy, so you're probably picking up some stuff from my lights with this one. This is a deck about transformation because that's how I tend to see vampire energy. It is about changing who you are and becoming what you were always meant to be, perhaps. Becoming stronger, healthier, more confident, maybe rich and famous. Who knows if that's something that you need or want, or you can give to the world through that. Great. I love this deck. I think I've mentioned in other videos, I used this when a close family member passed, and this was a deck about transforming that grief into something that I could live with. I do get caught up in this art. This deck feels like a change without a pulse because it's vampires and they have a very slow one depending on what mythology you get into with your vampires. And, you know, I get stained fingers from this one. Is it something that I would rebuy and re-edge? Possibly, but I kind of dig that I learned my lesson with this one. Isn't that part of having tarot? So, you know, I listen. This one definitely gets me to listen. It is stark. Oh, and I love this card. I just love that they included him in this deck. Okay, I'll stop gushing over that one. So this was the Tarot V Mass Market. Those are my halfway to Halloween decks. We had skeletons and ghosts, ancestors, vampires, horror movies, protection, and at least one deck that hits me with cookware on occasion. Honestly, I think it's a very balanced collection. I think I didn't do bad. I would love to know what deck in your collection feels the most like Halloween, even though it is nowhere near October. And if you decide to do this VR, please let me know because I want to watch everyone collectively pretend that we're not already thinking about spooky season, because I'm totally thinking about spooky season. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things if you feel called, no pressure. Just the tiny internet rituals. And I will see you in the next one, which will be on Wednesday. Is Wednesday the 1st? No, Wednesday is the 29th, and that is the new deck-in for Tours 2. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.